let's get into it. How's your week been? How are you doing?
I'm doing well, I think.
Okay.
I'm in such a daze from editing that I don't even know what's going on. I was like, I feel like we just podcasted yesterday. Like, it hasn't been very long.
But we didn't.
I know. So clearly things have happened. I don't remember. So why don't you tell me about your week?
Yeah, well, we worked all weekend because we were at the bridal show, and then I shot on Monday, and then I just feel like I don't know what year it is anymore. I don't know what month it is.
I totally forgot about the bridal show.
Yeah, like I've been working every day, and so I today I had no idea what day it was until I look at my calendar, I see if there's something to do, and then I go to what my calendar says, and I don't know anything else that was happening during the day.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way to live, you know?
Yeah.
Just follow the calendar.
So much so that last night I was like laying in bed, and I was not high, I was not drunk, okay? I'm just laying in my bed, and I opened up my laptop to do something, and I like closed it, and I'm like, I can't even fathom the fact that 30 years ago, 40 years ago, you didn't even have a phone or computer to tell you what to do. Like, can you imagine just like how, like, I opened up my computer and it's like, I have anxiety already from stuff that I need to do. Like, no matter what, like personal work, like whatever it is, like, and it didn't even exist. It's like we created this for ourselves and then now it stresses us out and then we go to it to help us. Like, I go download, like, the Calm app to then go help myself. Like, no, just get off of this. Like, why am I on this?
I know. It's crazy. I was just thinking the other day, there used to be a world where you didn't have to make online returns. Because that is my biggest struggle in life, is doing my online returns. I just fucking hate doing it. And I will let that package sit there until the last day that I'm eligible. And then, you know, like, have to go to UPS in like a rush, and like it's so easy. You just walk in and drop off your shit and you walk away, and it's like it could not be more simple usually. But I dread it. I think about it. I let it like sit there and grow into like this bigger thing that's causing me more anxiety. And there used to be a world where you just didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
It wasn't even a thing.
I wish we could go back, honestly.
And here we are.
Yeah. I think the reason why it's so painful too, though, is because it's like you have to go to it's not like you're ever just going to UPS anyway, and you're like, I'll just do it on my way.
They're everywhere. It's on the way to so many things. It's like,
but you still have to stop. You have to stop. You have to
and I'm too busy because I have text to answer and photos to edit, and I can't be stopping anywhere. It's crazy. Well, I'm sorry that you've been working every day.
No, it's okay. It's been good. I've had like a good week. I just don't know what day it is anymore.
Yeah. I will say, I just want to like shout out if there's anybody listening to the pod who's new, who met us at the bridal show. We had so much fun.
It was amazing.
We met so many amazing people, and I feel like this year especially, like the mothers of the bride, there's always like brides who are excited at the bridal show about doing a boudoir session, but then they have like their friends with them who aren't getting married, or their moms or whatever, who are like, oh, it's not for me. I'm not the special one. I'm not the main character today, you know, whatever. And I felt like we really saw some moms and some friends have like these moments where they realized like, I could do this too. And like, it was just like a really fun experience to like have lots of combos like that with people.
Yeah, and we met multiple people that came up and talked to us about the podcast. So Posse, we see you, we love you. Thanks for saying hi.
That was so cool. You really make our egos so big.
Yeah, it's true. We love it
though. Okay, should we bring on our guest?
Yeah.
Welcome, Hannah.
Hi, guys. I'm so excited and honored to be here.
We're so excited to have you. It's just been like the week of Hannah because we did your maternity shoot yesterday and we're doing your baby shower this weekend.
It's a little bit much. I was thinking about that on my way here. Taylor's her busy week is just because it's dedicated to me.
It's worth it because the maternity shoot last night was like, it will forever be seared into my brain.
If you guys don't all come to your maternity shoots asking for the same look that Hannah did, I don't know what the fuck you're doing.
It was amazing. I will say by the end, I was itchy, sticky, oily.
But when you look at the photos forever, that's not what you're going to be thinking about. You're going to be like, I am a goddess.
Yeah.
Okay, just to clarify, we took scratchy iridescent sort of like tulle and then, or organza or whatever, and used fabric stiffener to paint it onto Hannah's boobs and pregnant belly.
So it looked wet.
Yeah.
Like sculptural,
Yes.
intentional wet.
Art.
Yes.
Art.
Yes.
Literally art.
And it was making your skin a little red.
It was the glue stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And
it was
then
like Mod Podge.
and then I was lubed up with a mixture of baby oil and highlighter.
You were literally glowing. Like, and
I was.
we talk about glowy skin in the studio all the time, but the last night was
Next
next
level.
level. And then you're on Mylar paper, which is basically reflective paper. So she's like
Sliding
sliding.
So
around.
between like trying not to crunch the fabric off myself, not to like slip on the Mylar, and also like not pee myself somehow when I'm like laughing, it was like every movement was like very slow.
We actually should probably never do this for maternity client again because it's like we need to ask Bethany about insurance for this
Yeah.
session.
Yeah, clients need insurance.
But it was so amazing and special, and I feel like, you know, when you're pregnant, your body is changing. You know, you're just experiencing yourself in a way that is very different from like quote normal you. And I feel like it was so cool to do a shoot that was like so outside of like anything I've done before with shoots or the way that I see myself normally. And it like I feel like it was a really special way to get to like do a maternity shoot because I got to like do something really cool in a version of me that's really different than normal. So I felt like it was such a special way to do it. And you guys were all there just like primping me and telling me, you know, hyping me up like you do every shoot, obviously. But
Painting glue on you.
yeah, painting glue on me.
It was so fun. I'm so excited. I literally want to edit the photos tonight.
I also obviously wasn't seeing what was going on behind the scenes of the Mylar and the video today, watching Angie like delicately tapping her feet on it in the very giving birth position.
Yes. Yeah.
I had no idea that was going on
It
either.
really made me laugh.
She was
out
committing.
Loud. Yeah.
Yeah, that was incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really awesome.
It was a team effort. I'm glad we had as many people as we did there because it really would not have worked with less people.
No, you have to have a full squad
Yeah.
for that type of shoot.
Full crew.
I'm doing a shoot like that with a client in a couple weeks, and I'm like,
Ooh.
I need to get a second assistant to come to this
Definitely.
shoot.
Yeah,
Are
definitely.
you going to do the fabric thing again?
We're doing the fabric. I don't know about the Mylar paper, but we're definitely doing fabric.
I can't wait to see these
So
photos.
it'll be fun. It's a return client.
Okay.
Yeah.
So cool.
It's gonna be really fun.
So special.
Yeah. Yeah, and then we're also doing your baby shower at the studio. So it's just like
Yes.
a lot of maternity boudoir in one
Yes.
week.
And at the baby shower, one of the activities we have planned, it's a co-ed baby shower. So lucky for all those dudes that get to come to the studio for the baby shower. But one of the activities is going to be a pose recreation of one of the photos from the shoot. So we're going to have on the big screen one of my maternity photos, and then people can try to recreate it.
Yeah, and obviously I'm gonna turn that into content. I'm gonna be
Yeah.
filming the whole thing.
I can't wait for that. I hope it's popular with the male guests.
Me too. I feel like if we can get them to feel competitive about it, I think
Yes.
we can make it really fun.
Well, they could win one of my mom's crochet baby produce. So,
It's gonna be so good.
yeah, it's going to be really fun.
Okay, I know what being pregnant has been like for you, but can you tell us just what's it like to be pregnant the first time?
Yeah, this is my first pregnancy. I'm nearing the end, 35 weeks. I was like looking at the photos yesterday and like, wow, my belly's really
I feel like it happened really fast.
full pregnant belly
Yeah.
going on,
Yeah.
you know? But I feel like it's really a wild journey, like Anna knows, but I feel like it's like I'll say just like on a baseline, I feel like I've had a pretty lucky experience with like my pregnancy in terms of how I felt. Like I feel like there's such a spectrum of how people can feel physically when they're pregnant, and I've like felt pretty good the whole time. So like physically and kind of in my body, I've had a pretty good experience. You know, we can get into the like things that have been challenging, but overall it's felt pretty good. But it's like, it's really crazy to have this thing just like take over. It takes over your body, you know? And like, there's things that you can do to like take care of yourself, obviously, but so much of it is out of your control. And that is just like a wild part of it. And then like the whole emotional part of it and kind of like what it's like, you know, how you're thinking about it and how you're feeling about it. So I would say like I feel really lucky to be having what seems like a healthy pregnancy, you know. We'll see at the very end. I feel like I'm always reserving a little bit of caution. But like I've definitely found parts of it to be really challenging, and that's probably more the emotional part than anything else.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that's like hormones, or what? Like what's been the hardest emotionally?
I mean, probably.
Yeah.
But it doesn't feel like it.
Yeah.
It feels...
Of course not. Well, so my husband and I started our like trying to have a baby journey last spring. And we got pregnant pretty quickly. I had an IUD. We got it out. I took it out. Well, we didn't take it out. I had it taken out. And then, like, I think only a couple months later, I got pregnant. And we were both surprised. Because I feel like at that point, the thing I was most nervous about was, like, struggling to get pregnant. And then at my first appointment, I found out that I had had a miscarriage, which I didn't even know was a thing, was that you could have a miscarriage and not know that you have it. Miscarriage. And so went through the process of like dealing with that, which was, for me, I chose to have like a procedure where they take it out. And then you're waiting for your body to recover, which takes time. And then we got pregnant again pretty quickly once I was like, my body was ready. And then the same thing happened again. So it was kind of, you know, an unexpected journey to get to like, of not what you expect when you first start. Like, you know, I think when you're young, you're like, when you've never really tried to do it before, when you haven't started it, you're like, okay, when I decide I'm going to get pregnant, you get pregnant and then you like have a baby.
Yeah.
You know, but there's so many ways it can go. And so after going through that the second time, we got pregnant again pretty quickly. And that's the pregnancy we're on right now. So third time's a charm. So to loop back to your question, I think that while I'm sure some of it is hormones, I feel like I know it's really normal to have anxiety about how your pregnancy is going and the health of your baby as it's going along. But I do feel like that was pretty amplified by those experiences. And it like really stuck with me, this like fear of some like doom and gloom, like, you know, that something bad was going to happen again, and like, and that it was so out of my control, you know. So I think that part of the journey has been like one of the more challenging parts, is just sort of like the waves of that. I felt it a lot in the beginning. It kind of, you know, I had like a nice chill zone in the middle there. And then like it sort of more anxiety came back like kind of at the end a little bit. So I think for me that's like been one of the harder parts. And then now I'm noticing more hormone, like emotional stuff. So
like, are you crying about random things?
I don't think they're random, okay? Yeah, I've been crying a lot more, but also I'm like really tired all the time because like another classic, you know, thing is not sleeping well. So that really, it's hard when you're not ever quite getting the rest that you need. Yeah. So I feel like it makes it a lot easier to react to things and, you know, be emotional and like whatever.
Yeah.
So more tears the last few weeks than there's been a while, but I think that's mostly like the hormones and being tired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I thought was so crazy watching you go through all this is like how you had to experience the first trimester 3 times in a row.
Yeah.
Like over and over and over again. And it's like that part seems so terrible because you're nauseous and you're like tired and there's all this uncertainty and you don't know. And I just was like, it just I'm like getting emotional thinking about it. It like made me so sad to like watch you have to go through that over and over, you know?
Yeah.
Mother Nature is fucked up.
I know. Well, I think that has been like when I really think about, I first want to say like I feel some people struggle so much more with like just trying to like get where I'm at, and I want to really like acknowledge I feel really grateful and really lucky that like I'm at where I'm at. And like sometimes when I talk to other people about the challenges they're having or the journey they're on, like I'm like, well, these were hard but like straightforward, you know, and like And we were able to like hopefully get there. You know, it seems like we're getting there. But when I think back about like the last 2 years, I'm like, I've been in this for like 2 years now of like somewhere being pregnant or not being pregnant or recovering from being pregnant and then getting pregnant again. And like, I feel like sometimes I'm like, have I like dealt with that? Like,
Yeah.
you know? And like my body's kind of been going through it for that whole time. So
That is crazy, 2 years.
yeah, it's just, I'll think about it. I'm like, that's kind of overwhelming to think about. And the first trimester, like, I mean, I'm so happy for people that just are like joyful that whole time and are like, I'm having a baby and like, here it goes. And like, no doubts about it, you know? But I think if you have any of these, if you're an anxious person maybe, but also if you have any of these like challenges, that's like a hard, I think, window of time because you're not feeling good. You like don't know what's gonna happen. You know, there's like the chances of something. You know, that's the most likely time that something is gonna go wrong or whatever. You're like dealing with body changes, but like not in a cute way. You know, and like, you know, if you're nauseous and I think the first trimester is really has a lot of, you know, challenges.
Yeah.
So.
Did you feel like that in your first trimester, Anna?
Yeah, I was just constantly nauseous. Like, I never threw up, but it's like all day. It's like I'd wake up for 1 hour, I was fine, and then the whole rest of the day, like, nausea. And I just remember, like, doing client shoots, and I would be,
God,
like,
I can't
sneaking,
imagine
like, a
doing
cracker
a
in
shoot.
between, like, and trying to, like, it was, like, in some ways it was good because it, like, makes you distract yourself because it's, like, you have to get through it. You're, like, with the client, and you're, like, plaster on your fake smile.
Yeah.
But then you're just also, like, I am not well right now.
Didn't you do a shoot like a couple of days before you gave birth? Or was it the day before?
Yeah, it was, like, because a couple days,
Yeah.
But, like, that was easy. Like, I mean...
That was easier than the first trimester?
I would say so. I mean, I remember doing our first bridal show that we did. I was, like... It was towards the end of my first trimester, but I was still feeling pretty nauseous. And, like, I had, like, so much anxiety that day just being, like, I don't know how I'm going to sit here all day with, like, talking to everybody. And, like, you just do. But
yeah. We also didn't really eat because we didn't know any snacks yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like being nauseous is like one of the worst like sick things you can feel. It's like you can't think about anything else when you are nauseous. It's like that's all there is. You know?
And at least if you throw up, it's like you have like that. Even if it comes back, you have like some relief. But it's like if you're not throwing up, you're just like, okay, it's like just this all day now.
Yeah, I did thankfully throw up sometimes.
Okay,
so
that's nice.
I would get like temporary relief when I would throw up, but. I feel like actually now that I'm thinking about it, every trimester of the pregnancy, I've had like a different version of nausea.
Really?
The first trimester, I had like probably more traditional morning sickness. It didn't last for a super long time. Thankfully for me, it was like a pretty solid like 2.5 weeks. And then in the second trimester, I started getting like really a lot of motion sickness, which like I've always been a little bit of a motion sick girly, but it really like hit me hard. Taylor asked me to think of any funny pregnancy stories or crazy ones, and I don't know how crazy it is, but right when I was like, oh, this like motion sickness thing is a thing, Keith, my husband, and I were going camping for the weekend, and we were not very far from Portland, so we were like only in the car for an hour or so, and I think we were like 20 minutes into the drive, like on the Washington side of the gorge, and I was like, we need to pull over. I was not okay. I was like 45 minutes more. I don't know if I can be okay. So we pull over to this like little lookout area that was on the side of the road, and I didn't think I was gonna throw up. I was just like, I just need to sit down. I need to not be in motion. And I'm like laying on this bench. And then I'm like, no, it's just getting worse. So I like sit up. I take my Invisalign out. And I lean over the like railing, and I just like fully puked.
No.
Kind of violently. And while I'm puking, Keith is rubbing my back, and I'm peeing my pants. Not a little bit. I am fully peeing my pants.
Like, could you see it? Like, the liquid falling down?
I mean, I was wearing, like, I think I was wearing leggings and, like, a slide. So I was, like, it was, like, in my shoes. At least I wasn't wearing, like, sneakers.
Wait, this was, like, in the beginning still of your...
No,
like
I was, like... in the second trimester. So I was out of the morning sickness phase. And dude, I was not peeing when I was puking in this first trimester. So obviously things had changed with my pelvic floor at this point. And also, like, coincidentally, one of my good friends, shout out to Stephanie at Vibrancy Pelvic, I can't remember the full name, but if you need a pelvic floor therapist, see Stephanie. Anyway, I had an appointment with her like a few days later that I had already made, and I was like, God, thank God I'm going to pelvic floor therapy. Like, we need to work on this. But like, I'm like, it's so cute. He has no idea that I'm peeing my pants while he's like comforting me. And so then as soon as it's like the puking part's over, I'm like, I just peed my pants.
No.
And he was somehow sort of charmed by it. I don't know. So I had to it was not like, oh, I just like a little bit because I laughed or sneezed. Like I had to change what I was wearing. And we had like baby wipes in the car because that's like a thing you need when you go camping. Just pro tip. And I'm like wiping myself off like on the side of the road, like changing. And then that night we make dinner and I went to bed kind of early because I wasn't feeling great. And I woke up when Keith came in to the tent and I was like, oh no, I have to throw up again. And I was laying there like, if I go throw up, I'm probably going to pee my pants again. And so I was like, can I like will this away? And I couldn't. So I got up and I was like, maybe I can pee first and then puke, but I couldn't. And so I peed my pants again. I was only like fully again. I had to change. And I'm like, we're on camping for 2 days. I had one more pair of pants left. And you know, we all always bring like extra underwear when we do anything, the girls. I was like, I'm literally going to be running low on underwear now because I peed through 2 pairs of underwear in one day. I was like, if this happens one more time, we have to go home. So thankfully it didn't happen again. But months later, I like puked. I was like, we were driving somewhere and I had another motion sickness. Like we need to pull over. And I have to throw up. I was trying to walk to the edge of a grassy area by this gas station and I couldn't quite make it. I just like projectile vomited. Like I was like, there's people around. But I didn't pee my pants. And I immediately texted Stephanie and I was like, I need to tell you I'm really proud of the progress I made because I just puked and it was violent, but I did not pee my pants at all.
Wow.
So, pelvic floor therapy works.
The power of pelvic floor therapy.
Dude, that is insane.
Anna's in tears right now.
I had not heard that story before. That's a funny thing. The fact that it happened twice is like...
But wait, another part of it that was kind of funny is like, I think it was the first day where I like, now I look back on the pictures of me, we were taking like bump update pictures and I'm like, I thought something was happening. It was like barely, anything showing. But it was like the first day where I was like, oh, maybe I have like a cute little bump, instead of just looking like I gained weight. And then that happened. And I was like, the universe just humbles you. And that you have just like this body that's you're not really in control of, It's kind of crazy.
What did Stephanie teach you that gave you the control to not pee your pants the last time?
Well, we've been doing, it's been cool. We've kind of, it's like, we've had phases of what we've been working on. So at that point, we were like, we got to do some strengthening. Mm-hmm. So, Kegels are sort of part of that. But we worked on like 360 breathing. So, which is a thing you hear when you're pregnant. It's like kind of working on your like deep core muscles. So, and kind of incorporating the Kegeling into that. So when you're when you inhale, you kind of relax everything and you expand your rib cage out and also relax your pelvic floor, which kind of feels like you're trying to poop a little bit. That's how I have to think about it in my head. That's how you're relaxing your pelvic floor. And then when you inhale, you bring everything in your core and you kind of lift it up, including your pelvic floor, which like that's where you sort of Kegel. Yeah. So like kind of practicing using the muscles really intentionally, which has actually been like an overall cool thing I think about being pregnant is like doing more intentional movements where I'm not just like, I got to get this workout done or whatever. Mm-hmm. But I mean, at the time that it was happening, I wasn't like, okay, time to Kegel. But It must have, they must have been stronger. So
I've heard that story multiple times and it never gets old. I love it every
iconic.
time.
Yeah, something.
When I got pregnant, I like downloaded this app for this. I like can't remember what it's called now, but this like woman has a lot of workout programs, but she had one specifically for pregnant women, and it was like every week it like she filmed it while she was pregnant with one of her kids. So it's like every week it like changes based on the week that you are in your pregnancy.
Yeah.
But every single workout always started with like that deep belly breathing, and I never had any problems peeing like myself or like whatever before or like during or after or whatever, and I think I credit a lot of it to the fact that I was doing it every day through her program, because really that pelvic floor gets a little scary when it's not engaged.
Yeah. Well, it was just crazy that like, because when I was nauseous in the first trimester, when I would throw up, it would feel like really violent almost. Like it was like my body was like, I had to get every single bit out, and like I would sometimes get like broken blood vessels on my face for how forceful it was. But I wasn't peeing. So, like, obviously, like, pregnancy is changing, like, what's going on, in a big way. But that was kind of, like, I was like, that's kind of crazy that it's changed that much in this window of time, But it's not a perfect system. Like, every time I sneeze, I'm like, okay, what's going to happen? But I haven't fully peed my pants since then, so.
I'm proud of you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, speaking of working out, you've also, I feel like, done very impressive workout things in your pregnancy. Because, okay, I remember when I think it was we must have gone to Disneyland right after you did your trip to Scotland.
Oh, yeah, because I remember the 5 minutes where I thought maybe I was going to get to go to Taylor Swift with you.
Yes, that was such a good 5 minutes.
It really was. But then I realized I was coming back from this trip the day of or after the show.
Yeah, so it wasn't gonna work out, but maybe next time.
Yeah.
So when we were at Disneyland, we did 13 miles at Disneyland, and we were like all destroyed the next day, just absolutely wrecked, couldn't walk. I couldn't get out of bed. Anna was dragging me out of bed to podcast, and it took her like an hour for me to like finally like get up and do it.
I just love that you had a full massage. Or wait, no, you canceled it. No,
I did have a massage.
You had a full massage, and you still came back, and you're like, my body is not okay.
Yeah, I was still like, I need to go back to bed now.
That explains how unwell we were.
And then, like, meanwhile, Hannah has just gone on this trip to Scotland where she's pregnant, and she's literally walking 13 miles a day, pregnant, and just doing it day after day. And we couldn't survive one time of doing that, not pregnant. And I just feel like it's really a testament to how fit you are.
Well, I don't know. I mean, you guys had there was a lot of adrenaline. You guys were standing at the show, you had other factors. So
yeah, I guess, but
yeah, so the biggest fitness, I don't know, things that I did while I was pregnant and they both were planned before I was pregnant. So I'd signed up for a half marathon, which I did when I was like 3 months pregnant. And that's the first one I've ever done. And then my husband and I had planned a walking tour, which he kept calling like a geriatric vacation. But we were in the UK for a wedding, and we went to Scotland and did this walking trail called the West Highland Way that's like 100 miles. And we did it over... in my mind, I thought we were doing over 7 days. It was actually 6 days. So yeah, it was a lot of walking. But, I mean, it really landed in like the sweet spot of like... I think I was like 23 weeks pregnant when we were doing that. So like, if you're going to feel good and like energetic and able-bodied and not nauseous all the time, like that's kind of like when you're gonna be that way. But I feel like there were some really challenging days. There was like a couple of days where we had to, for me, because of me, like kind of cut the day short a little bit. We had a couple of days that were supposed to be like over 20 miles, and I was like kind of learned that wasn't gonna work.
Yeah. Was it like hiking or like walking through cities?
I guess I would say it was hiking, but it wasn't like we were hiking up a mountain every day. It was a lot of it was like, it's a really cool route. It's like a mix of kind of going through town sometimes. You're going through farmland. And then some of the trail is like established like hiking or walking trails and stuff. So there's a lot of variety. There were a couple parts where we had to like go uphill, which I found really hard. Like that was where I was like, I really feel the difference in my body. But it was like, I felt so proud of myself at the end, like for doing it. And like, it was also cool because that was the week where I really started feeling the baby like regularly. And so I was really like, this baby's on this journey with us, you know? And like at night we'd be like in our bed and then like feeling the baby together, you know? And so that was cute. Really cute. But I do think that like, I mentioned that like I've felt pretty good during the pregnancy, and I do think that moving regularly has helped me to feel good and like surprisingly normal in my body for like such a crazy thing that's happening inside of it, you know? Like, and
you worked out a lot before you got pregnant too. Like you've been working out a lot for years.
Yeah. And I mean, I know it's like a privilege to be able to do that and be able-bodied, and you know, if you're feeling like absolute dog shit while you're pregnant, like that's going to be a lot harder to do. Yeah. So I'm not like, if you just do this, then like you'll feel good and everybody can do it. But I do think that has really helped a lot. But that trip was really amazing. And I feel like I was like just starting to like have a real little bump, and like Keith would always be like, people are looking at you like, look at her go or something. I don't know if that was true, but
I'm sure they were. Like, I'd be impressed if I was on a walking tour.
So impressive.
Yeah. It was really cool. It was really beautiful. And yeah, like I said, I felt really proud of myself for doing it at the end, because there were some very challenging moments. Like, I think and like, I was like, there was a day I cried. Why did I cry? But it was because there was an ugly photo of me, not because of how hard I was.
We've all been there.
Yeah, so, you know.
When you don't have your naked peach girls with you to take the photo.
Yeah, when it's your husband taking the photo, you're like, that's what I look like? I sent one of those photos to you, and Taylor, and she was like, I was like, this is the kind of photo that Keith takes of me, and she's like, this doesn't even look like you.
Why to find it?
That's the scariest part about those photos, is like, because you look at them and you're like, no, this is what I look like. You like fully convince yourself that this is what everybody sees when they look at you, and then you're like, why do I look like this?
I've been lying to myself. The mirror's been lying to me. This is the true version.
Yeah. And I know it's kind of silly, but like it really is such a mind fuck when you see a photo like that, and you're like, is this like what is going on? Like,
it's really scary.
And he's telling me that it's a cute like what?
Yeah, you're like, you start to be like, what is real, what's not?
How do you love me? Like, what? I'm questioning everything. Yeah. So that was why I cried. The trip actually was one of those moments, because I also hadn't done like a social media announcement yet, and I had like really in my mind been like, okay, we're gonna take like a cute bump pic in the Scottish Highlands. Yeah. And then that's gonna be the like Instagram picture, and it'll be like cool, like I'm on a hike, you know, doing this cool thing and whatever. And I was like trying to get this picture, and it's just really a struggle to get there. We did get a cute picture eventually, but like I think I had some investment in particular in the photo. And so anyway.
Yeah, and you're on a geriatric tour, so there's no like young girlies walking by that you can be like, will you take this for me?
No.
That's the best tip. Yeah. You have to find a Gen Z girly, ask her to take your picture if you want to get a good photo from a stranger.
I will also, I mean, I'm not Gen Z, okay, but like even before I became part of the Naked Beach team and started my photography journey, I love when people ask me to take their photos like out in the world, because I will try, you know, and like it's so satisfying to take a good photo for someone that is like not maybe expecting it, or like I really love to be asked to take a photo by a stranger.
I don't like being asked, because I feel the intense anxiety to like, I'll like grab their phone and I'm like, I've never taken a photo before. I get so freaked out, and I'm like, this has to be a good photo. Like,
I've like, you know, done a lot of things that were out of my like immediate comfort zone just because I didn't know how to do them or whatever, kind of like what you were just saying. And I've found like a lot of meaning in this stuff, and I feel like that has just made me feel more like kind of well-rounded or sort of and secure, because Because, like, when I was in that, like, real, like, I don't know what I'm doing, I don't know what I want to do kind of phase, like, maybe we're not going to get deep into the weeds with this stuff, but, like, I was, like, a couple years into, like, recovering from a pretty serious eating disorder that I'd had for, like, 20 years, which, like, really eats away at, like, your sense of self.
Yeah.
And it took a lot of, like, my energy and, like, mental space and, like, all of that when that was going on. And so, like, kind of coming out of that and trying to, like, figure out who I am and, like, what's left in that space that's left behind by this thing. And, like, and also just, like, changing all the time because it's really, like, a journey. Like, I think that, you know, there was really a feeling of, like, I don't know who I am. I don't know what I like. Like, I'm like, I'm not like a little, like, young, tiny, you know, like, I'm not a kid and there's all this stuff I don't know about myself, and that, like, hobbies I didn't spend time investing in, or, like, skills that, like my husband, for example, like, he has all these, like, very, like, invested in hobbies that he has invested in over many, many years. And, like, I didn't really have anything like that. And so I feel like, not that Naked Peaches and photography is, like, a hobby in that way, but, like, it's made me feel much more, like, I feel like, yeah, like, confident and not like I've figured it all out about who I am, but, like, I feel like just, like, yeah, more secure and more, like, I'm, like, just using the same words, but I think, like, confident is probably the best word.
Yeah.
And I think, like, like, speaking of what you guys were talking about with, like, trying new stuff, and, like, I think it's the kind of, like, endeavor that, like, you keep being in positions where you're, like, having to learn something new, you know, and, like, you're in a new situation that you're kind of, like, adjusting to. And I feel like that is definitely an area, like, inside of us where, like, confidence grows, you know, and, like,
sure.
security grows, or whatever, like, whatever the opposite of being insecure is, you know, like.
And you make new memories that way.
Yes. So I feel like that is just, like, the nature of this thing that we're doing, and the, like the leadership of you two. It's like you guys are both, like, always coming up with, like, new ideas and things that you want to do and try, and, like, kind of, like, ushering the rest of us along. And I think that's been another part that's really cool for me, is, like, it's not like I come from a family of, like, all these artists, and I never, like, did anything like that myself. And I think I was always, like, admired that and, like, wish I had some place where I want to, like, make art. But I'm not the kind of person that's like, okay, I'm ready to make a painting, you know, or, like, I have this, like, idea that I need to, like, that's starting from scratch, you know?
Yeah.
So getting to, like, have all this creative energy, but in, like, a way where it's sort of, someone was like, okay, here's the path for it.
Yeah.
Has been, like, so perfect for me, you know? Because, like, I didn't need to, like, figure it out from nothing, you know? So that's been another part that I've, like, really appreciated about it so much, is, like, some like, parameters, you know, a little bit.
Yeah.
Not that there's not a lot you can do in this space, but it's, like, you know, I think it gave me some bumpers to work with, which has been really, really awesome for, like, exploring my own creativity.
That totally makes sense. That's really cool. I mean, even Anjay was saying the other day, she was like, when you guys tell me I have 10 minutes to make a video, it turns out so much better than when I can just sit there for an hour and, like, take clips of the person.
Yeah.
Like, I think having, like, a little bit of constraints sometimes makes it easier.
Yeah. It's like, if I have a reveal the next day and I haven't edited yet, it's gonna get edited. Like, it will get edited, and it's gonna be edited to perfection, but, like,
Exactly.
the constraint is there. The reveal is coming, and the photos need to be done.
Okay, I know you mentioned your eating disorder. We, like, didn't really dive into that, and I feel like that's something that, like, when we have talked about it on the pod, people are like, there's a lot of people out there who can relate. So maybe we should just, you know, talk about
a light
that more.
touch.
Just slightly gloss
Dip
over.
our toes into it.
What's it like? You know, no.
That's what it's like.
It's honestly hard for me to ask you questions because I feel like I know everything.
Well, I don't know very much about it.
I asked me all the questions about my eating disorder.
I didn't. Well, when you just said 20 years, I didn't realize that it had been that long, and I am now forgetting which guest it was that had talked about this. But sometimes I just, like, I know this stuff impacts like young girls so much, and it's very prevalent, but it's like a lot of times when you hear people talking about like, oh, I was like, 13 and that's the first time I was like, I'm going to put this down, or I'm going to, it's like whatever. It's like so crazy because it's like that is a baby. Like that is a baby child.
Yeah. I mean, I do think a lot of people do like sort of grow out of it, or at least like the worst of it, where it's like a really active eating disorder when they're younger. That's not what happened with me. I like really stuck with it for a long time. And I was thinking about it today just because I thought, when you were going to talk about it. And like, I think being in solid recovery makes it a lot easier to be an open book about it. So I feel I'm totally comfortable talking about it. But when I was in it, it was like, don't touch that with a 10-foot pole, But yeah,
Did you know you were in it when you were in it?
Yeah, because, like, it wasn't subtle what I was doing. Like, I think if you're just like, oh, I just have, like, a weird relationship with food, or, like, you're being really restrictive, but you can somehow trick yourself into thinking you're not, like, maybe that's one thing. But, like, when you're throwing up everything you're eating,
yeah, you can't.
Pretty straightforward.
Bulimia is not subtle.
Yeah.
And were you getting sick?
Like
not from just, like, not having enough nutrients, or, like, not, like...
I mean, I'm like, maybe later on I'm going to, like, really feel the effects of what I was doing to myself for so long, but for the most part I wasn't. Like, I mean, I would go to the doctor and get labs done and they would be like crazy, so there's obviously things going on in my body, but like I was doing it during years when you're better able to heal from things and recover from things. So I mostly like felt quote okay, but maybe in 10 years I'll be like, oh, there it is. I don't know. But I mean, sometimes it really blows my mind to like think back and like what I was really doing for so long, and like it was really bad for like almost all of that time. There were some windows of like I'm trying to recover or whatever, but for the most part it was like pretty consistently like very active bulimia for like decades. Literally, I started when I was like 15 years old, and then I've been in recovery since like literally 20 years that I was doing that. So it's a journey to like undo all that.
Yeah. That's like lonely too, to be doing that for 20 years, because you're not like talking to people about it, or like,
yeah,
it's like a secret thing that you do by yourself.
Yeah, definitely lonely. Like I mean, I think any eating disorder, there's like shame around it, but I think particularly bulimia. And like, I feel like people that, like, who don't have eating disorders or, weird relationships with food can kind of like understand a little more intellectually, like the starving yourself thing, but the like making yourself throw up or like eating just to make yourself throw up thing is really like, that makes no sense to people.
Yeah. It feels like unnatural to someone who doesn't do that.
Yeah. So I think like you're just kind of carrying that around with you all the time. It's a really weird way to live,
What is it that eventually led you to like getting into recovery for it?
Well, I mean, the catalyst was like a conversation with my husband. But I will say, like, it's really one of those things where like you're ready when you're ready. And unfortunately it took me a really long time to be ready. I don't think that means that like people shouldn't try to intervene or talk to people in their lives about what's going on with them if they see something happening, or parents certainly like getting involved, but it also is going to be like when the person's ready. And like I had a lot of like supportive people in my life when I was younger. I had parents that were noticing what was going on, that were trying to help me, like whatever. I just like I wasn't ready. But it was like pretty early in COVID. So my husband and I, well, not at the time, but we were living together. Hadn't been living together that long when COVID started, and then all of a sudden we were like home together all the time. And I think like it was a lot harder to like manage this thing and like be secretive about it. And like he, you know, it was kind of like he knew what was going on. And we like had a conversation kind of about like the future of us, and he didn't give me like a deal breaker. It was not something like that, but it was more around like him saying that like me not being honest with him about what's going on with me was making it hard for him to trust me about just in general. And like I just had this moment of like, okay, well, the only way I'm going to be honest with him is if I'm not doing that. Like, I'm not going to be honest with him about having an active eating disorder. Like, there's just literally no way. And if I want to like have the things that I've always thought that I wanted in my life, which is like one of those things is a family and like get to like have a partnership with someone and have kids, like I'm not going to be able to do it if this is what's going on with me with anybody, let alone this person. And I just like, I kind of had this moment of like, I have to like deal with this. And I think it was literally like the next day I was like, okay, I'm going to stop. And I did not know what I was getting into. Like that wasn't like the last day that I threw up. I think I threw up one more time, like later the next week. Because all of us addiction girlies know you gotta like dip your toe in one more time and see how it feels. See how it feels. But man, was I crazy for a little while there. And I feel like it's happened in layers, like the what recovery has been like. But you know, I don't want to be like, there's always gray in all of this stuff. But for me, I was like, I need to not throw up again. Like that was a really hard line I drew for myself. I tried to still be like, if it happens, like we're going to keep going, you know, because you don't want to like set yourself up for failure with like, you know, being like very black and white about it. Like eating disorder girls are real good at being black and white about stuff. But I like, that was like the thing in my, like deep in my heart of hearts, like I need to not throw up anymore. Mm-hmm. And then kind of each next layer of it kind of presented itself. It was like, okay, now I got to deal with this. Oh, I got to deal with this. But that was like the first thing. And I've like, that has been the constant of it. And so I was like really very like feel very grateful. It feels like a miracle that, you know, after 20 years, I was able to like make that decision and stick with it. But, you know, it's been one of the more challenging things I've done in my life for sure. But I think like having it really being faced with like, I'm not going to do the stuff I want to do that like I always imagined I would do. Like I'm now at this point in my life where like I'm 30. I think I was like, was I 35 at the time? Like I'm going to throw away my chance to just do this ever if I don't get over this. And I think I just like couldn't not see it at that point. Mm-hmm. So that was like, you know, obviously it was like, I love my husband and like, you know, whatever, but I think it was more just like facing like, because I mean, it seems like a remarkably long time to like fool yourself and tell yourself that you're like going to get better and like whatever, and not just keep not doing it and like keep sacrificing your life to it. But like, I managed to do that, but it was like a moment where it was like, oh, I'm really going to maybe give up everything if I don't like get a handle on this. Mm-hmm. And then I couldn't like unsee it.
Yeah.
So.
Wow.
Yeah.
But, and then you did like so many things on the journey to recovery. I feel like there were like so many steps you took. I mean, I've watched you go through it and been like, damn, like she's really doing it, you know? Like, I feel like you've really like actively tried to recover and heal and like explore all these different layers of it that, I don't know, it's like a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, like, even though I was really sick for all that time, I was taking in a lot of information. I went to treatment and, like, read things. And, like, I think at that point it was, like, I couldn't fool myself into, like, a half-assed version of it, kind of, you know? Because I knew that what I wanted wasn't just to not throw up. Like, I wanted to be well.
Yeah.
So I, you know, initially it was, like, just don't throw up. And then, you know, I don't know, like kind of grit my teeth through that. But I, you know, that sort of like when I first was in that phase of things, I leaned into like a more restrictive pattern because I was really afraid of overeating and throwing up, but I was also really afraid of gaining weight.
Yeah.
And I like was being restrictive. I was over exercising. I was like really making myself crazy. I remember like one day where I was like, I have to go on a run, but I'm so tired and I don't want to go on a run, and just like kind of crying and being like I'm cornered myself, you know? So that was like phase 1. And then I had like a moment of like, okay, I like kind of had a moment of really being honest with myself that I'd like visibly lost weight during this early phase of recovery, and that was not actually what I was trying to do, even though of course we love that, you know. Not really. Okay.
But we eating disorders,
yes.
we love that. Yeah.
But like another moment of like, oh, I can't unsee that that's what's happening here, and that like what I'm doing here isn't a sustainable version of eating. And then it was like, okay, I'm gonna try this like intuitive eating thing, and then I was like kind of doing that, and then I had another moment of like, okay, you're not really doing that in a way that's like really working for you. I read this book that was really like blew my mind at the time, although the woman who wrote it like kind of went crazy on the internet. So I'm like, okay, well, the book really helped me, but I don't know if I want to promote her really. But the message in that book was like, if you I don't think there's a silver bullet for eating disorder recovery, but like this was like, I read this and I was like, this is true for me, where it was like, if it like kind of, she used the analogy of like a pendulum. If you're like holding the pendulum really close one way, like whether it's whatever your weird thing you're doing with eating, like you have to fully let it go and let it swing all the way the other way until it's gonna like come to the middle and like normalize itself. And so I was like, okay, that is what I have to do. I have to let myself eat whatever I want and like give myself full permission to like even do things that feel kind of bingey or whatever, just knowing I'm not going to throw up. And like let myself kind of swing into the middle so I can like actually, because I think like I had no idea how to eat. I just had no idea how to eat. I did not know how to listen to my body. I didn't know how to trust any of the like, I just did not know how to eat like normally. I did not know how to like I just didn't know how to like use internal things to like figure out how to take care of that part of myself. And I knew I really wanted that. Like I wanted to be able to just like trust myself, and I wanted to be able to like have like a healthy and like normal and free relationship with food that wasn't being like monitored by like outside forces that I had to like inflict on it somehow. So I just really resonated with me, this idea of like, okay, if I fully let go, then I can get a chance to like find out what's like, what my, you know, find that middle ground for myself. And that did work for me. So I feel like the first, like, and that's just kind of continued to like be more and more like that, I would say. Like getting me a normal relationship with food was like probably the easiest part of it. Like everything else, like the mental part, the body image part, that part is like, there's a lot more there that kind of needs more like delicate untangling.
Seeing your body change and like being like not spiraling about it, I feel like is the part that for me has been the hardest.
Yeah, you know. Yeah, I feel like it can feel embarrassing how overwhelming that feeling is when you like see a picture of yourself. You're like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because and especially in the last couple of years, like my body's been through a lot. Like I went through, you know, now I'm like, obviously the changes that happen when you're pregnant are crazy, but like even just going through like the miscarriage and pregnancy journeys, like I gained weight during that time. I also quit vaping like right before all that stuff. And like, no one likes to talk about like that part of quitting vaping, but it's hard. And so I think, you know, I've definitely had some really like overwhelming moments of like how I'm perceiving myself. And then, you know, the craziest part is I look back at pictures during every one of those phases and I'm like, what was I thinking? What is wrong with me that I saw myself and it felt like an absolute crisis what was happening with me? And then I see a picture and I'm like, you look good. Like, what is wrong with my mind, you know? So that is really sort of insane. Like,
I literally had one of those the other day.
literally
Like,
crisis.
yeah, where it's like nothing is okay. I actually can't leave the house. I need a whole new wardrobe because nothing looks right. I'm just wrong. Everything's wrong. I need to curl up in a ball and scream and cry. And then you see a picture and you're like, I look the same.
Also, and like, I see you on a day where I find out that's what's going on with you, and I'm like, okay, I saw her and I was like, damn, Taylor looks hot. Like, she's never looked better. And then I find out that you're like, you were having that experience, you know?
Yeah.
So it's really insane what's going on in our minds. But yeah, that there's a lot, you know, and it's not just the eating disorders. I feel like society set the stage for us, you know what I mean? Like, all the groundwork, and then we invested in it. I invested a lot in it, you know, over many, many years, like, to like in those ideas, you know, and like eating disorders are weird because there's like the part of it where I found escape in the action that I was taking, but there was also the body control part, you know, it's not straightforwardly just about being skinny. Never, I don't think for most people, but that is part of it, you know, of course. And like I said earlier, like I sacrificed so many parts of me and my life to that this pursuit and this lifestyle that it's like, I don't know, you know, like figuring out how to not have it have so much value is like really challenging, you know?
Okay, I think it's really interesting hearing you say all this because obviously, like, I don't know you as well as Taylor, and I did not know this full story, but like, for some reason, up until just now, I didn't realize that, like, your eating disorder was, like, one, so long, but two, like, you didn't really start recovery until, like, fairly recently, like, the last few years. But knowing you, like, for the last few years, kind of, like, more from the outside, the way that you talk about things, though, and, like, present yourself, I feel like you seem very, like, you say things that are very... like I'm not gonna say they were like body positive, but like you when you talk about food, like you talk about like fueling your body, or like you say certain things that just seem so much more like you've been in recovery for so much longer than like a few years. Like I literally thought you had an eating disorder like 10 plus years ago, and that you have been in recovery for like over 10 years.
I mean, that's like, I feel like cool to hear about. I'm not gonna be like, oh, I'm faking it, because I don't think that's true. I think it's like I like, I don't know, I was going to make an analogy.
I mean, I think
like,
you swung your pendulum. Like, I think you really
well,
like,
no.
so, and like, I know there's like peaks and valleys, but like, it really seems like you have like, kind of like you were saying, like you really have dived into this like recovery, like head first.
You're living it.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I feel like it's kind of like if you get into a relationship when you're older and you're like, you know yourself better and you kind of like know what you're trying to do here better and like whatever. I feel like it's like I got into recovery late, which like, you know, there's a lot that I kind of gave up in terms of personal development because of that. But I also like was like, okay, I'm ready to go, you know?
Yeah.
And I like, it's like, it seems pretty, not like I know everything, but it's like diet culture is bad, you know?
Yeah.
And like, I know what kind of relationship I want to have with food. And so like, it's not always the narrative that's going on in my head, you know, but like, I think that it's generally feels clear, like what the higher self part is for most of that, you know, like when I hear people talking really negatively about their bodies or talking about food in a way that has to do with like guilt or good or bad or like whatever, like it's like that's diet culture, you know? And like another part of it, I mean, I guess I kind of was already saying it, like with, you know, that the motivation was like, I don't want to give up this whole idea of like what I want to do with my life, but I do not want to give this to a kid. You know? Like, I don't want to give it to a kid in an obvious way or in a subtle way, you know? And so that feels like a huge motivator for me, is for it to be like real, and that like the way I talk about it is consistent with like what I want to give to a kid that I'm raising, you know? And what I want to like model for them. Like, both the way, I mean, this part is harder and I don't feel like I'm good at this, but like, I don't want my kid to watch me looking in the mirror and see me hating myself, even if I am not saying it out loud, you know?
Yeah.
So I got some work to do before this baby is like conscious of what's going on, I feel like, in that particular area. But I also like want to make sure that the way I talk about this, you know, food and like the way that, and I don't think I know all the ways that you do that in terms of raising a kid, but I think that like, yeah, I feel like it's most of the time it's like, okay, the path feels straightforward in terms of like what's trusting yourself, what's not diet culture, what's not in the pursuit of just like thinness or, you know, control, and like what's, you know, the kind of higher self of this stuff and like what I'm trying to do. Because like it's so scary when you're in, especially early, like to be like the idea of gaining weight and your body, like all the things you're afraid of, you know, it's so terrifying. But I'm like, there is a world in which I can like not be afraid of that. And like, I can truly just have like freedom with both the relationship I have with food, but with like my relationship to my body and how I perceive myself. And if I got there, then I wouldn't be afraid of it anymore. Mm-hmm. So the only way there is by like continuing forward through it, you know?
Yeah.
Like I'm never going to get there if I like do the stuff that's like based on me being afraid or based on me trying to control my body or like, you know, whatever.